Hi everyone, and today we are going to be doing a special video, and today's video is going to be on Leo Messi. The best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be in terms of a footballer. Absolute unicorn of the game, a once-in-a-lifetime player, and we know all the mainstream figures of having the most trophies in football history, having the most individual awards, the most individual man of the match achievements. We have the most goal contributions in football, the most goal contributions in finals. I mean, all of these mainstream statistics, however, do not do justice to the underlying numbers which prove that there is no equal to this player. And I'm going to be having a look at them particular figures and achievements today. Okay, so the first category I'm going to look at is chance creation. Now, chance creation in football, you can normally play over, round or through a team in terms of on the ball if you are looking to pass the ball progressively forward. And there's very few players who can tick all of them boxes. Also, when you receive the ball, there's generally three things you can do with it. If you're in an advantageous position, you can strike a goal. You can either dribble or carry the ball. Or as I've just mentioned, you can progressively pass the ball forward. And to be an elite player, have an on-ball value, you normally have to be elite in one of them particular categories. And no player in the history of the sport, in modern football, has ever been the best simultaneous player in all of them key metrics until there was Leo Messi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up the different creativity metrics, and I'm going to tell you how Messi fares compared to his peers in the same positions in terms of on-ball value. So in terms of on-ball value, in terms of passing the ball, there's generally three categories. We can look at through balls, key passes, and big chances created. So today I'm going to start with big chances created. Now, in 2010, Opta refined the terminology of the particular metric because, for example, chance creation can come in different ways. It can come from percentage balls played in from, say, set pieces. And also chance creation is also very much based on the finishing ability of the player you're passing the ball to. So a chance could be created from me playing 5 yards to someone, him dribbling past 10 players and having a shot at goal. And also I could get an assist from that. So the important part is never to look at the assist tally or the chance creation tally, because that won't give you an accurate reflection of how valuable that particular chance is that you create for that person. And also, in terms of assists, it can only tell you the value based on if the player you're passing the ball to actually scores the goal. So that's why Opta refined it to big chances created, which simply can be defined as a chance which a player would be expected to score. We know the data is taken from historical data based on the angle of the shot, the distance of the shot, the pressure on the ball on the shot, etc. And in terms of big chances created per 90, Kevin De Bruyne leads the way. In second place, it's Leo Messi. And in third place, in terms of the data, is Bruno Fernandes. That is per 90. When we look at overall, big chances created, Leo Messi leads. Then Kevin De Bruyne in second place. And then we look at Thomas Muller, who comes in third place. So Messi, again, in key passes, there is no equal. The only player who is equal to him in terms of per 90 is Kevin De Bruyne. And of course, De Bruyne's played less games than Leo Messi, which when you play less games, there's obviously a bigger chance that that percentage won't deteriorate over time. Let's look at the next category. So we look at through balls, which can be defined as a ball which is played through a defence, split to defence, to an on-running player to receive. And again, let's just have a look at the per 90 stats. So per 90, Leo Messi, top. Second is Kevin De Bruyne. Again, he's in good company. And third is Neymar. If we open that up to, in terms of, in history, the amount of completed through balls, we've got Leo Messi in first place again. We've got Bruno Fernandes coming in second place. And of course, in third place, Kevin De Bruyne again, and Neymar. So again, remember, this is historical data from when Opta started calculating. So again, Leo Messi comes out in first place. Now, if we look at the third passing metric, we look at key passes. And a key pass can be defined as a chance created for a teammate which isn't taken, okay? So, which is important, obviously, because I mentioned how sometimes assists, for example, can only tell you the value in terms of the metric if a player is to extract a goal out of that particular chance you've created for them. So key passes. Top, pair 90, Leo Messi. Second, Kevin De Bruyne. Third, Bruno Fernandes. And then we look at the overall statistics, who has had the most key passes over time. And again, Messi comes out in first place, Kevin De Bruyne comes out in second place, and we've also got Dusan Tadic, surprisingly, coming out in third place. So again, Leo Messi leads that particular category. Now, when a player receives the ball, the most difficult thing for the opposition is how you are able to manage their creation as a talented player in the final third. And normally, if you're a great passer of the ball, what the opposition will try to do is they'll try to stop you at source, they'll try and get in line with the ball and basically attach themselves to you as quickly as they can and become nice and tight so you can't get your head up, you can't play forward. But that's where dribbling comes in, because normally, if you are a great passer of the ball, say Kevin De Bruyne, for example, you won't be an elite dribbler. But again, this is where Leo Messi comes in. So if you are going to try and stop him at source, if you are going to try and get tight to him, well, that's going to be a problem, because he's simultaneously the best dribbler in football history as well. And let's have a look at the numbers for that. So if we look at pair 90, so Adama Traore, pair 90, is actually, since Opta recorded data, got the highest level of dribbling success, because a dribble can be defined as beating an opponent whilst still possessing the ball. In second place, we can look at Jeremy Doku, who's the outstanding 1v1 dribbler in the Premier League. And Leo Messi comes up in sixth place overall for pair 90 dribbles, which, when you think of the fact that he's played over 1,000 games, this is an unparalleled statistic in terms of the amount of dribbles he's completed, because you have to think later in your career. Obviously, Messi drops into a deeper position. He is not an out-and-out 1v1 winger. So the fact that he's completed and is still in sixth position for that particular pair 90 dribbles is just, well, I don't know what to say. It's unbelievable. And if we look at overall the amount of dribbles completed since Opta began taking records, we've got Messi in first place with over 1,000 more dribbles than second place in Eden Hazard. Neymar again comes into third place. And Messi had an overall peak, at his absolute peak in terms of dribbling, that hasn't been matched, of 8.7 dribbles per 90 at a 73% success rate. So again, unbelievable statistics. So not only is this player the most dangerous player in terms of passing and finding moving targets ahead of him, being able to play over, round or through, but also in terms of dribbling, 1v1 elimination throughout his career, again, there's been no comparable player. And when you factor in what I'm going to talk about in terms of actually ball striking and goal scoring, you begin to build up the picture. There is no comparable player in Wales football, or there hasn't been. Okay, so we're now going to look at goal scoring. And I think when we compare goal scoring, it's only fitting that we compare him to his closest positional peer, which in terms of games played and obviously the period of time that he's played football, the actual volume of games played to goals, that would of course be Cristiano Ronaldo. So as you can see on screen, Messi, for example, has played 170 less games than Ronaldo. But at this current moment in time, only trails that particular player by 61 goals. Now, if we dive deeper into the numbers, we can see in terms of non-penalty goals, and I think that's always important to touch on in terms of non-penalty, is that, and the reason for that is, of course, penalty scoring is a skill, of course, but when you are given a free shot at the elite level at 12 yards at the goalkeeper, that has to massively factor in to the amount of goals you're able to obtain, because essentially it can be a situation where someone can have far more penalties, which of course in this case Cristiano Ronaldo does in his overall percentage of goals. So if we look at actual non-penalty goals, we can see that Messi has 797 compared to Cristiano Ronaldo's 788. But Messi's played 170 less games, so you can see the picture I'm starting to build up, that in terms of free play, in terms of not being able to have an unopposed shot from 12 yards at the goalkeeper, there's no real comparison between the two players. Now, if we look at the actual non-penalty rate of goals per 90, we can see that Messi's at 0.69 compared to Ronaldo is at 0.60. So again, you can see there's a big disparity in terms of how likely it is that them particular players are going to score within open free play and not be dependent on a free shot from 12 yards. Now, in terms of the shot count, you can see that in order to achieve these figures, Messi takes far less shots, which again shows you the level of conversion, really. And in terms of being dangerous from all particular areas of the pitch, we can also see on the statistics on the screen that there is no more deadly player from outside the penalty area than Messi as well. So not only does he score at a much more consistent rate, not only is he better in terms of converting the amount of chances to shots, but also in terms of the different distances that he can shoot from. He's also more dangerous. Now, if we look at it, shots from outside the penalty area in an open play, that just carries on. So we know that not only is Messi more dangerous in terms of being on dead balls, but also in free open play in terms of being able to strike from different distances and convert and execute them opportunities as well. And I think what we always have to take into account as well in terms of finishing, probably the most important aspect, which is the underlying numbers, the XG over performance. So are you overperforming the amount of goals you get from the quality of chances you receive? And this is where, in terms of the statistics, again, there's just a scariness and almost a total outlier, a data breaker that Messi is. So Messi lies top in terms of data taken, and this is just in European football, of course, in terms of all this data, because obviously since he's gone to the MLS, and to be honest, it's probably good that the data hasn't been included from the MLS as well, because some of the actual execution of goals that he's been scoring in that particular league, I think this would be particularly even far higher. But just in terms of Europe, the XG over performance, Messi leads the way at plus 88 goals. So he has scored 88 more goals in his time in Europe than would have been expected. His second place closest positional peer is Heung-min Son, largely at Spurs, who had an XG over performance of 48. I mean, that is a scary statistic in terms of the difference. You're talking almost double the amount of XG over performance from Messi, who currently sits in first place. Then you've got then you've got Harry Kane at plus 25, and you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who appears on all of these lists showing his quality, plus 21. So not only is he taking less shots, not only is he scoring more non-penalty goals, not only is he more dangerous from all areas of the pitch, but his XG over performance shows that there's no one more deadly by a considerable amount. I mean, it's just that he's a statistical anomaly in terms of finishing. So ball striking, finishing, there's no equal, there's no parallel. Okay, so we've identified in terms of chance creation, in terms of dribbling to be able to eliminate your player 1v1, and in terms of goal scoring, there is no comparable player to Leo Messi. But the next part is probably even more shocking, because now what I'm going to bring in is XG build and chain. Now, this might be an Opta statistic that you are not as familiar with, so I'm just going to take a minute to explain. So in football, you normally get players who progress the ball from deeper areas, who basically build the game, construct the ball forward. Then you might get other players who are the final pass maker, so the player who are tasked with producing the final action in the final third to be able to feed teammates in the higher areas of the pitch, find moving targets. You might get players who are 1v1 individuals who do the same, but in a different manner in terms of trying to beat their opposition number in a 1v1 battle, normally out wide. Or you get a player who finishes the moves, the player who's tasked with being the executor in the final third. And these are normally all individual players. And what XG Build does, it removes the value from the player who makes the final pass or the player who scores the goal. So essentially, if you're involved in the move and you do any of either of them actions, either create the final pass or score the final goal, you won't be awarded any value in XG Build. And this is where Leo Messi's brilliance comes in. And again, just a statistical unicorn. So Messi is not only the player who constructs the moves, the progressor of the ball, is not only the creator, the player who plays the final pass, but is also the player who finishes the moves, as we know, because no player's been more prolific. Now, in terms of that, his level broke data models. So not only did he have the most expected goals, the most expected assists, but also was higher than any central midfield player or any deeper line player, creative player, in terms of XG build at his peak. Now, this is just an anomaly of a statistic, and this has carried on pretty much throughout his career. Now, his XG chain was so skewed to the final third because he was the player who normally finished the move or created the final action. But he also overperformed every other player in Europe in terms of the progression and creation element from the deeper areas of the pitch. So whether it be combining with players, progressing the ball up the field, playing over, round or through, moving that ball forward into the higher players, but then himself was popping up in the areas where he should be playing the ball to his teammates. Absolutely crazy. And he was the ultimate hybrid progression and execution monster in the final third, and is still to this particular day. There is no comparable player. He's almost three players wrapped into one. The player who progresses the ball from the deeper areas, the player who makes the final action in terms of creating for teammates, and then also finishes in terms of the final action in the final third. And in terms of the deeper line players in this particular metric who always show up particularly well, you're looking at players like Rodri, Sergio Busquets, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric. And this is all obviously since the metric came in 2018. And then you've also got the creative players in the final third who aren't just the players who finish the final move. So you're normally looking at Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne again, Neymar, all of these most complete players in the category just under Messi, but none of them, unfortunately, come close to Messi at combining all three actions. And I think that's the thing about Messi. You are getting as I mentioned earlier on, you normally have to have an elite player to do one particular job, either progress the ball, dribble the ball, carry the ball, make the final action, finish the move. He's doing all of this. And that is why there's just, it's almost an insult to be able to compare him to any other player, because what you also have to factor in is, if you're one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, you're normally one of the highest players or the highest player in your team. You're normally a player who waits for service. This player, if we actually look at his heat map, is non-comparable again, because he's dropping into areas which, if you were to look at an average heat map of a forward player, you would never think that this player is going to be the best goal scorer in open play in modern history. The best executor, the best finisher, the most decisive player, the most valuable player in terms of deciding the outcome of games. And he's doing this from positions where he's the highest XG build, XG chain player of all time. Where is the argument? Where is the comparison with any other player? And I think, I just wanted to add that particular factor in, because I've looked at obviously all the different categories in terms of being able to decide the outcome of games in the final third. But he's not only deciding the outcome of the final third, but he's also making sure the ball arrives in the final third. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, just to summarise then, so I've made a life really of watching this particular player. I think throughout my life I'm a massive Liverpool supporter, but the main enjoyment I got was knowing when his game was on, when he was playing. It's a little bit different in America now. Obviously, I can only catch the highlights as often, but some of the things he's doing there in terms of the execution of actions, you could put any other player in the same positions and ask them to execute the same level of detail in the quality that they produce, and they simply wouldn't be able to do it. I have no doubt that until he decides that the time is to hang up his boots, he'll be the best player in the world. I'm massively interested to see how he does at the World Cup this particular year. And throughout his career, he had the first season of PSG where it was a sort of acclimatisation period, but every season, bar that particular season, he's been the best player in the world, and it's been by a considerable distance. And any time he's not been voted the best player in the world, for me, it's just been absolutely a travesty. Where if you look at the award in terms of just simply who is the best footballer. And even in the second season of PSG, a season when he won the World Cup, a season he was largely, the the outside world suggests that he only won the Best Player in the World award because he won the World Cup. I mean, apart from having an absolutely a standout generational World Cup performance, I mean, he was the best player in the world for PSG that particular season in terms of all the attacking actions in the final third. I mean, even in what you would perceive as a season when he had to drop deeper because of the players he had ahead of him, he was still the outlier. And in every season that he's ever played football, he has been the outlier. He's been the statistical anomaly, which has combined all the best aspects of attacking on-ball value into one player. As I've mentioned before, you can normally be an elite player if you fit one of the particular categories. So I mentioned earlier on that when you receive the ball, you can either carry it, dribble it, shoot a goal if you're in an advantageous area, or pass the ball. No player has been simultaneously the best player in the world in all three of them categories. And throughout his career, you are talking about the number one in all of the categories. Added to that, the information that I've given you about the XG build, which means that not only is he creating and deciding the game with the final action, but also he's constructing the game to be able to bring the ball in the final third, then doing the rest himself. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Throughout his career, in the modern era, there's never been more access to data. Coaches have looked to cage him in particular positions, come up with all kinds of game plans to be able to stop him, whether that is stopping him getting the ball at source, whether that's ring fencing him in to a particular area with a multitude of opposition players. Every potential tactic has been used, and if you actually look at the output, because that's the important part as well, you can have all the statistics, individual statistics in the world, but if it's not resulting in your team being the most successful, then what's the point? But his teams have been the most successful, so not only is he producing in terms of statistically, in terms of the best individual, but also it's having a culmination in his team being the best team overall and winning the most trophies. I mean, even going into Miami, I mean, the things that he's currently doing there, the team sat bottom of the division, I think, when he went there, and ultimately it's gone the same way as every team that he ever plays for. In the end, they will be the most successful team, whether that's in club level, whether it's in international level, being able to achieve what he has in recent years for Argentina, or, for example, taking a team in the later stages of his career. So, just no non-comparable player. I just wanted to do a little bit of a video on him and just delve into some of the underlying figures, because often I get really frustrated when I'm watching particular programs where they can't articulate or they haven't got the information available to them to clearly describe why this player will probably never be matched, certainly not in my lifetime anyway. And like I mentioned before, any comparison to any other player to him, I mean, it's probably an insult considering the numbers we've just put towards and his achievements in the game whilst performing them particular actions. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed the video, and that was Leo Messi.